Welcome back, everybody. This is the Resistance broadcast. I am John Hoey. Thank you so much for joining us today. The Resistance base is open, and that means it's time to podcast, getting nerdy about Star Wars, and we love to do that on Thursdays, our discussion episode. This week, we're bringing back the Kessel Run. We're going to go over the 12 most heroic Star Wars moments. And then we want to hear from you guys. But first, I want to hear from these two right here, James Bane, that's not Lacey, Poe Dameron. In the cockpit there with the helmet on. If you're watching us on YouTube, you'll understand what I'm saying here. Guys, how are you, Poe? Good to have you. What's going on?
I'm good. This.
I can't hear anything.
I just think of the scene from Resistance where it's like, oh man, I'm so glad to see you. And Kaz is like, I'm glad to see you too, Poe. And then he's like, I was talking to BB-8.
Set him up, knock it down joke.
I can't hear anything. What? I don't even know what you said. Let's do this.
Lacey's here. Okay.
Yeah,
so
James,
so for you guys listening out there, we had Lacey put on a full Black Series Poe Dameron helmet and put her headphones over those, so she had no idea what was going on. And now we're back at it. She has her normal headphones on, so we're going to get back to the normalcy here.
People have been requesting for me to wear it, so there you go. There's your request.
And Lacey, how are you guys? And are you ready to talk about heroes and moments in Star Wars?
Momin with the mask? Yeah,
yes,
sure.
Lord Momin.
Yeah. No, I'm ready for sure. What about you, Lacey?
I love heroes and I have some good moments, so I'm ready.
All right. And James is always a little behind the curtain here of TRB. I like to let these guys know what my moments are ahead of time, so because mine are always so good, in case they want to borrow one of mine, they can. James is Captain Secret, where we never know what he comes to the table with, so I'm very eager to get his list, and Lacey usually shares hers. So that's a little peek behind the curtain of the Kessel Run, and of course we want to see what yours is, so make sure after you listen to the Kessel Run later, hit the comments with your top heroic moments in Star Wars. But first, it is back, and it is called Will of the Force. It's back, baby! So James Bane, where's our buddy Chirrut? Where's he at?
I fear nothing, for all this, as the Force wills it.
Thanks, Chirrut.
I love you. Thanks, Chirrut.
Yeah, well, I'm
You
mad
do you,
because,
man.
because here's the thing, is speaking of doing me, it's back, baby, is my line. And John steals it from me every week.
Hold on now.
He introduces the Will of the Force as, it's back, baby, we're doing Will of the Force. That was my thing, John.
You took that from me.
No.
You lifted that. I got that from Frank Costanza on Seinfeld. So.
Okay. Well, we got 5 questions, as you would expect.
Star Wars war over who came up with back, baby.
For all of
it was Chili's.
John tried to say that he came up with the Kessel Run, too. John's stealing everybody's stuff.
I did.
I just like ribs, you know what I mean? They're baby back.
Back baby ribs.
They're back baby ribs. All right, we got 5 questions, as all of our Will of the Force fans would know, right? We do 5 questions, 2 of which are patron submissions. The first one coming from us, though, is: will Maz Kanata's role in the Rise of Skywalker be more like her role in The Force Awakens, or more like her cameo in The Last Jedi? Lacey, you're starting this one off with the Maz Kanata talk. How much orange are we getting in this movie?
I don't think she's going to have a major role. She hasn't had a major role really in either of the previous films. I think she's going to be more on the Force Awakens side, because she's JJ's character and she was more of that wise old character. Whereas I feel like they used her as this comedic relief, like weird moment in The Last Jedi, which I didn't particularly like. So I think JJ's going to pull her back in for that wise, I know beyond this moment, and I'm helping you get to the next spot character.
John, what do you think?
I'm 100% on par with Lacey there. TLJ, it felt like Ryan's like, well, I love Lupita and she has a contract, so I got to get her in here somewhere. So we're going to do it this way. It almost felt like it was one of those, like, you're on the line for a ride at Disney and there's Maz killing time with you and you see her on a screen or that, that type of thing. But in TFA, she was so important and she was funny and she was there and tangible and real. And you saw the relationship between her and Han and her jokes with Chewie and how she just like really connected with Rey. And while she had a small part, it was a very important part in the movie. So I think we're going to lean more towards that. Mainly for the reason, like Lacey was saying, and we've been saying on this podcast, JJ is going to do what he did with TFA, so with his characters and all that stuff. So I think without a doubt, it's going to be leaning more towards TFA. It doesn't mean she's going to have a major role, but definitely more of that than the you're in line on a ride at Disney cameo.
I think mine is, and it might change. You might sway me here, but how much promotional material was she doing for The Force Awakens before it came out? Was she was announced as like one of the major returning or like cast, right?
She was a narrator to begin one of the trailers.
Yeah. Who are you?
Yeah. And all of this, I feel like it's like, where is she? Lupita, where are you at?
Yep.
No one's hearing anything about this character. She doesn't seem to be on set. She doesn't seem to be in any leaks. She doesn't seem to be any part of press promotion or anything. And I honestly just kind of get this feeling where, as much as you guys are saying JJ likes to use his characters and stuff, I agree with all that. But where is she? And this leads me to believe that she is just going to pop in very lightly. There's too much to tell to bring in Maz as another character,
That's fair.
Maybe they couldn't recast her, or maybe they couldn't get her, so Matt Smith is actually playing.
Oh, okay. What's the next one? What's the next one?
All right, the next one is coming from our Patreon.
The next one's
Commander.
from Matt Smith.
Yes, this one is from Commander Matt Smith. No, Nathan Shank, actually. Nathan wants to know, in The Rise of Skywalker, will we see or hear Darth Vader speaking to Kylo Ren like the concept art of The Force Awakens suggested that it could happen? John, you're going first on this one. We getting a chat with dear old grandfather?
No, because I'm throwing that whole concept away because it doesn't make sense. Darth Vader died when Anakin passed away and he became Anakin once again. It doesn't make sense for that part of him to return. It destroys his whole character arc in Return of the Jedi. So I think it's someone else possibly chatting with Kylo Ren through the mask that makes him think it's Darth Vader, but it's really good old Sheevy babes. So no, it will not be Darth Vader, but somebody else.
You
Lacey,
have
have a very interesting. Oh yeah, I was gonna say you have a very interesting perspective on Kylo Ren.
With John. I don't think he will talk at all to Kylo Ren. I think, like John said, it's Palpatine talking to him through the mask, and I think he's been tricked this whole time into thinking he was doing what his grandfather was telling him to do, when in fact his grandfather had already been redeemed and already become Hayden Christensen, so it makes no sense that Darth Vader would be talking to him.
Hey, you want a piece of pie?
Hey, R2.
Hey, R2's with us. We okay?
Sorry, James, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I jumped in kind of late there, so
It's okay.
but yeah, I'm actually with you too. I think that if Darth Vader, for whatever reason, makes an appearance in this movie, it's not Anakin, right? Right. I think that's the whole of it. It's either actually Palpatine or it's the presence of the Sith, which was my whole
Matt Smith.
Evil. Yeah. Dark Lord of the Smith. A Smith legend. No, but I'm thinking, so this was actually my like super shredder thing, where I was saying like, maybe it's like the entity of Darth Vader. It's like Anakin is the good person that was like possessed by Darth Vader, the Sith entity or something. Maybe they could
Sure.
do something like that. But
Sure.
at the end of the day, if Darth Vader is in this movie, it's not Anakin. So therefore, to me, it's not Anakin or whatever speaking to I don't know.
John's always going on field trips now. That's his new thing in videos.
I'm back,
Well,
baby.
it's fine. It's fine that he's gone because Lacey's answering the next one.
Oh, okay, great.
Which is, if he isn't killed in the final season of the Clone Wars, which is coming out this spring, Disney Plus, will Cad Bane make a live-action debut in the Kenobi series, which is coming? We don't know yet. Disney Plus, maybe.
Oh, this is kind of tough.
Being a bounty hunter is tough.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to think of like what I actually was my honest answer. I'm going to say yes, because I feel like fans really want this character in the live action series. So yes, he will. And that's my short answer, because I don't know what else to use to back up my answer besides I know fans really, really want it. And it seems like an easy transition from one to the other.
John? Cad Bane. If they do that Kenobi series, which they will.
That you reported, John.
Yeah. Are they going to use Cad Bane as one of the antagonists
Well,
or protagonists?
I think it would be cool because, he's always been wanting that revenge on Kenobi from the Spygate of Clone Wars. I don't think so, because I think
John, we just 100% agreed. You just threw it all away.
Yes. I think
still at
it'd be
40%.
hard to get Cad Bane to convert to live action based on his look in a convincing way where it wouldn't be like, that looks kind of weird. Like he looks like he's a character at a theme park. I keep doing the theme park analogies today.
Really?
But
We've seen Duros's before. Is it just
I know,
the hat,
I
you
know,
think?
but Cad Bane specifically with his outfit, maybe like Baron. He looks like Baron Samedi from like James Bond. I want to say he'll be in the Clone Wars though, and maybe he gets killed there by Boba Fett anyway. In the final season, I don't know. I don't think he'll show up in Kenobi though, because whoever winds up doing Kenobi, I think they already kind of had the script planned and they're retooling it from the movie, and I don't know that they would have put Cad Bane in a Kenobi movie. So I'm gonna say no.
I too am gonna go no on this one. I just think I think it could be really cool, but like I'm a broken record on this. Like I don't really know what this Obi-Wan Kenobi series would even be. And I just kind of don't get the impression that it's going to be like him fighting bounty hunters and stuff. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't quite seem right
James,
to me.
The Kenobi series is your Matt Smith.
I guess. Yeah. I don't know. It doesn't seem to make sense to me.
Hey, James, hold on a second. I have Darth Vader's mask here and he's talking to me. Hang on. What's that? What? All right, I'll tell him. All right, hang on. He said the Matt Smith thing stinks. So there you go, guys. Darth Vader.
Really
John,
bringing the exclusives into this podcast.
It's really interesting that I don't know why, John, why are you so fascinated with Matt Smith? Like he was never announced.
Right.
And yet you still seem to think you keep bringing him up.
Yes. Well, he's going to play Palpatine. And they just brought Ian McDiarmid out on stage just because. They didn't want him in the movie. They didn't want Palpatine in the movie. They want some other guy to play Palpatine in the movie. Because he's a clone. Yikes.
Patreon is a place where you can submit Will the Force questions, and we had our commander Danny send us another one. This question is, will Leia encounter Palpatine at some point in the Rise of Skywalker? John, this one's going right back at you.
Yeah.
Leia encountering Palpatine. I don't mean to give away my answer, but what? Right?
I mean, it would be awesome to see that interaction go down finally. But I think because of, Carrie not being able to be in 9 the way they probably initially wanted her to be, it won't happen. But I think had Carrie lived and they had this plan in place, That would have been something awesome to see go down. Finally see him interact with the other Skywalker there after he tried to lure Luke. But like I say, because she passed and they only have a limited amount of ways to use her, it's not going to happen.
Lacey, what do you think?
I agree. I think she will not meet Palpatine at some point. Great question, though, Danny. I think she's going to stay back at the base. Like John said, they don't have that much footage of her, so they have to work with what they got. And I can't see them like doing a full CG of her like interacting with Ian McDiarmid. So
yeah, couple of buddies agreeing. That's very good.
She wouldn't have had anything that would have. She wouldn't have had any lines that would have been like, aggressive in that sense.
Right.
Mm-hmm. From the older movies and stuff. So I have to go on that one as well. Ooh. I never really thought about that taking place. And now that this question's come up, it makes me wonder, has she ever interacted with the Emperor as a member of the Imperial Senate?
Yeah.
He's around. I know that like he likes to stay away. He was like his figure and all that other stuff. But you got to think he has to make appearances with people at certain times. There have to be some situations where they might have like come into some sort of contact. So it is kind of interesting that there is still this kind of like maybe Rebels era where they might be able to actually pull something like that off where the two of them are talking.
Real quick, was Palpatine aware of her being Anakin's daughter?
I don't think he was.
I don't think we've talked about this before, but I still don't think Darth Vader knows that it was her.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We've talked about that before, but then that makes me also think that neither does Palpatine. Palpatine knew there were, or actually they didn't even know there were kids, right? I don't know.
Yeah,
it's all kind of messed up because the whole point was that she died and the kids died with her, right, in childbirth.
Yeah.
All that. Yeah. All right. Next one is. Wait, yeah, I sent it to you, Lacey. I blanked for a second. The last question is, sticking to the theme of character encounters here on the show, will Chewbacca encounter Kylo Ren at any point in the Rise of Skywalker? Now, Lacey, I am going to start with you on this one, but I don't want any trickery of like, but he'll encounter Ben Solo.
Hey Ben.
No, he won't encounter Kylo Ren.
That's your voice for me?
I don't know. That's my voice for
Kylo Ren is gonna die, but Ben Solo's going to rise.
You guys have very different voice for me. Will he encounter Kylo Ren? Yes, he will. I think that we actually have seen a glimpse of him encountering Kylo Ren in the behind-the-scenes footage that they showed at Celebration, where the group is looking at someone from the cave, and I think they're looking at Kylo Ren. So, yes, I think they will. I don't think it's going to go very well, because Chewbacca's pretty angry, because he killed his best friend. So, we'll see how that goes. Yeah, yes, they definitely will. They have to. They have to at least have some confrontation, because Chewbacca helped raise Ben Solo. So they have to have something to tie that, to have some closure there.
Mm-hmm. Gosh, John, what do you think?
I think so, but I don't know that it's going to be something where it's a close personal encounter. It might be Chewie sees him and gets like angry and pulls his bowcaster and someone stops him, that type of thing. Mm-hmm. Would be cool though. I mean, to go with the theme of Skywalker's losing limbs if Chewie ripped his arm off. But
they would never do that though. They would never have Chewie harm another character like that.
Rise of Skywalker.
Ripped people's arms off before.
Yeah,
he did it in Solo. He did it in to Unkar Plutt, deleted scene.
He's never ripped off like a main character's arm.
Well, JJ said he wanted to take risks.
That's the risk. He's like, guys,
the risk.
forget everything else.
No,
the risk is.
I do think there will be an encounter. I think it'll be from a distance. Chewie will want to pop one in the head, and someone stops him for some reason, and be like, "No, we got to stop Sheepy Babes now." So he's kind of with us for now, and then we're gonna kill him later. He's like, "All right, cool." So,
Really quick. The other reason why he'll never rip off Kylo Ren's arm is because they have Kylo Ren meet and greets in the Disney parks, and kids love Kylo Ren. And then they have Chewie meet and greets, and Chewie's like this lovable guy, like the mayor of the town who's going around waving and hugging everyone. They're not going to change that image of Chewie and have him rip off Kylo Ren's arm. Little kids would be afraid of him.
Chewie shot him in the hip, made him bleed out almost.
Yeah, but that was different. Before.
Also, the theme parks take place before this movie, so.
And also, JJ probably
Just a
doesn't give
little
a
bit.
crap about the theme parks.
I'm just saying.
I'm
Just throwing
saying.
it out there.
You don't have to agree.
I don't think that Chewbacca and Kylo Ren will have any sort of interaction in the movie. However,
Really?
I do think that Chewbacca will have an encounter with Ben Solo.
You're such a. I mean, he's tooling with you.
No, okay. Here's the thing: is I'm totally no on this. I actually am not even entirely positive, and this kind of sucks to say it, but like I'm not even really sure how much they're going to use Chewbacca in the movie. I think he's going to be in it, but they kind of did that with Last Jedi, so there's a little bit of precedent there for it.
Wow.
And
So you think
even
they're saving Chewie for the Solo sequel? Is what you're saying?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe. But I do think that if they do the redemption thing and he lives, then sure, yeah, obviously then there's Chewbacca giving him a hug is like this crazy forgiveness thing that we're
I'll straight
already
up
gonna
cry.
have to. We're also gonna have to forgive him for
Murdering
killing Han.
Han
So if
Solo.
Chewie forgives him, then we forgive him too, inevitably, right? I don't know.
I mean,
But
that is a
anyway,
good point, James. If you
Rough-
see on
rough
screen
sledding.
Chewie forgiving him, that's them
Then
telling you to like just let it go.
we inevitably say,
Let the
well, if
past
Chewie's
die.
cool with him, she's trying to let the past die in script. All right, well, that's all I got for Will the Force. I think let's wash our hands of that week's Will the Force. It is not back, baby. It was back.
Let us know your guys' answers in the comments, please.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, next we have a lovely segment we like to call the Patreon Podrace. So here's the deal. We have a Patreon page. It's where you can be a part of the resistance and support us. You get extra content. But as one of the tier's perks, being a general, the first 4 people get to do a pod race, which is give 60 seconds of their thoughts on a certain topic in Star Wars and get to be a part of the show. So this week, we're honoring or welcoming General Andrew. And his question was, what is his favorite scene from the sequel trilogy so far and why? So let's see what Andrew had to say.
It's definitely the final scene of The Force Awakens. That scene was just awesome. A lot of suspense leading up to it. Luke was mentioned throughout the movie, and it was the first time we saw Luke. But also just the music as part of that. Mark Hamill mentioned that in several interviews. And then also the Skellig Michael Island itself was just amazing. It's actually on my bucket list, something I really want to go see someday. And that scene always sticks out to me. I've watched it over and over on YouTube. The music, like I said, is great, and it's always been one of my favorite scenes since the sequel trilogy came out, and it's going to stick with me unless something really changes in the Rise of Skywalker. Thanks, guys. May the Force be with you.
Wow. Thanks, Andrew. You did a great job. James, what do you think?
You did a great job, James. What do you think? No, I mean, I agree. This is a hard question. I think it's good. Favorite scene, I think part of that is just the whole, I would imagine the wrap up, of that particular movie. I think like if you graded it on all Star Wars fans, I think more people tend to like Force Awakens than they do Last Jedi. So as you're walking out of the theater, that's going to be the last scene that you remember. So it's really easy to like connect with that particular scene. But yeah, all of your points, man, with the music and all that. I mean, like, I think again, that was a big takeaway from like the soundtrack was the Jedi footsteps.
You always say foot. There's
Fallen
no foot.
footsteps.
It's the Jedi steps.
Just Jedi steps.
Yes.
Jedi
It's
footprints.
John's favorite.
It is.
Jedi feet prints. No, but yeah, I agree. I think that's a good one for sure.
Yeah. I think that scene is my favorite ending to a Star Wars movie ever.
Ooh, favorite
So
ending.
that's for sure a big reason why it's great. So I think that's certainly a great answer, Andrew. And the Jedi steps is easily John Williams' best composition for me in this era. It shows that he still had it, and this was the closest I got to tearing up watching Star Wars. So I don't know what it was. It might have been the music, might have been Rey just going through everything she went through, and then finally seeing Luke. But I started like tearing up, and every time I watch that scene, I get chills, even though I've seen it 500 times. So it has a heavy impact on me. So that's a phenomenal answer, Andrew, and I have to really almost completely agree with you because it just has it all there. So great job, man. And as always, thanks for the support, and I can't wait till we can share another brewski together next year.
That's a good thing, John. Now I'm like thinking of all my favorite endings.
It's true.
So we're changing the Kessel Run right now. Favorite ending.
I'm thinking 6 and then maybe 4.
There's 11 Star Wars movies, and we're gonna do the top 12 Star Wars endings of all time.
Andrew, excellent job. First of all, I love your Reylo print behind you and all the Last Jedi stuff and the big Rey poster prop thing up against the wall. That's really cool. You have a cool setup over there. So I agree with you. This is an awesome scene. There's 2 things that take me out of this scene from a film making
helicopter shot.
Yes, I can't take it. Why is it in there? Who at Lucasfilm or Disney said, we paid for the helicopter shot, you are using it? It takes you completely out of the scene. It makes no sense whatsoever. You have a 2 shot with 2 people, and then all of a sudden you're like looping around them. It makes no sense. That and the way Mark Hamill removes his like hood bothers me. Other than that, the buildup of Rey walking up the steps, her handing the saber to Luke, beautiful. Music, amazing. Those 2 things, not so great. The helicopter shot, why, JJ? Why did you use this shot? If I had one question to JJ, it would be that.
And he'd
That was
be
a
like,
good pick for your favorite moment.
he'd be like, hey, Lacey, mind your own business, okay?
Shove it.
Because it was incredible, and if you've ever been over Skellig Michael in a helicopter, it was incredible. And I'm guessing you haven't done that, so you have no idea. Okay, bye.
Largest domestic box office next to the original.
James is JJ's Butters from South Park.
I know.
Yeah,
What was that? Spoiler alert. JJ was the one in the helicopter, and they actually spent 3 hours just circling
The whole time.
That
Yeah.
was James doing John doing JJ.
Oh, man.
But yeah, as usual, Andrew, thank you so much for your support. We really appreciate it. And now we're going to go to John, who's going to bring us into the Kessel Run.
You've never heard of the Millennium Falcon? It's a ship that made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs.
Okay, so for those of you who aren't aware, the Kessel Run is where we go to our lists, and the 3 of us bring 4 items to the list to create 12. Why? In honor of Han and the crew doing the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs. So this week's topic is most heroic Star Wars moments. So we're giving you our 12 most heroic moments in Star Wars. So strap in and man your stations. And then give us your picks after you listen to our picks. And we want you to go in the comments. Let us know if you agree with our picks, what you think of our picks, whether you disagree with our picks. And then we want to hear your choices for most heroic moments. I'm going to start things off here, guys, with the first most heroic moment in Star Wars. And it's going to be Anakin Skywalker pod racing to help out Qui-Gon, Padme, and the whole gang to get their money to fix their ship. I think it's the first time you get to see Anakin as the good person that he really is, the selfless person before he gets twisted up by Palpatine. He wants to help people. And Shmi said he really wants to help you. He can help you. He's the only one who could help you. And they know how dangerous it was. He's the only human who could do it because of the skills he has. He put a lot on the line. He could have died doing it for them, but he did it because he wanted to help them out. And I just thought, knowing what, Anakin and Darth Vader being really the central point of this saga, that moment to me is huge, and an absolutely huge heroic moment for him as a character. Better than him, I'll try spinning and blowing up the Trade Federation ship. I think him pod racing and putting that in the line is a very heroic moment.
I agree. That whole pod racing scene is nuts. And I remember when I saw it in the movie theater, that was, to me, the coolest scene in the whole movie was the pod racing. It was just so different. It was unique. And he goes into that as the typical underdog, and you don't think he's going to pull it out. And he does. That's awesome.
Yes. All right. So who's next? So you, Lacey?
I'll go. Okay. So my first pick is Leia in A New Hope, when she takes the gun from Luke and runs across that little detention hallway and shoots into the trash compactor chute and tells them to get into the trash compactor chute. Mm-hmm. For me, that's she's brave when she gives the plans to R2, and she's brave when she stands up to Tarkin. But this is the first time we see like her kind of like feistiness with them. Like, here they are. They came to save her. They're like, oh, we're here to save you. And she's like, I don't need to be saved. And here's why. And it's just so funny. That whole scene is so good and awesome. And for me, watching it, a little girl, to see like the girl saving the guys, it was pretty unique in the other movies that were around at the time when I was growing up. So she is a hero, and that's why I like that scene.
Yeah, it's crazy the different definitions of heroic I think we're going to see throughout this list. Because for me, when I was like, okay, what's the most heroic thing? Like, I made a what do they call it? Like a thing that I wanted to follow.
Sure.
Like a chart or a motto or something, you know what I mean? Like, and what's weird is that like some of the things that you guys, I see your list and I'm like, I don't really agree with that, but this is one that like, it doesn't fall into my category at all. But yet at the same time, I'm like, yeah, but how do you say that's not heroic? You know, what Leia's doing in that particular situation, because that's, assuming too, this is not assuming, but like this is the first time you see Leia in the movie really like doing something. I mean, she's standing up to Darth Vader and there's some other stuff there too, but like I think this is the moment when a lot of people go like, I want to be like her.
Yep. I think that's why it was so important to me growing up, because that was the moment that I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, good one. So to explain that thing that I was talking about before, the thing that all of mine are going to follow is before all the podcast stuff, I learned this thing about the difference between bravery and courage. Bravery being like when you are fully confident that you could make it out of that situation, and even if you don't, like, you're not aware of the danger. So like, for instance, Poe Dameron in most cases is brave because he's very confident that when he runs headfirst into that situation, he's going to be okay, right? But courage, on the other hand, is when you're aware of the situation you have to go into and you are not sure you're going to make it, but you know you have to. You know it's the right thing to do, so you do it anyway. It almost comes from like a selfless thing. So I see that as a very heroic act. And so all my picks were kind of based on that. First one being Finn leaving the First Order. I think that the reason this guy becomes a hero to me is because he finds himself in a position where, for whatever reason, he's going, this isn't right. And in a lot of cases, people tend to just go, I feel weird about it, but it is my life. This is how things are. And it takes a lot of courage for someone to do the right thing and to break away from that. And when he decides to make this moment, he is in the heart of the First Order. You know what I mean? He's a promising student in the Phasma regime. And he just doesn't think things are the right way to do this. So I know you could say like he's running away, but it even takes a lot in a person, in a hero, and this is just his first step to becoming a hero, to walk away. And Leia, even, that's the first thing she says to him, you know?
Yeah.
That it was crazy that he did that, you know, that he denounced the First Order and did all this stuff and just got away. And she praises him for that act of valor in that sense. So,
yeah, I think that's a good pick because it's, you know, it's again one of those things. You know, we joked earlier about the gray areas between are you a good guy or bad guy or whatever, and the old school way of Star Wars was there's the stormtroopers and they're that, and that's all they are. And this kind of showed a new angle on it where we have a defecting stormtrooper and he makes that type of choice, which we haven't seen that type of development from your standard stormtroopers before. So, and we've seen what Finn turned into from there. And maybe you could even say some things he's done since then are even more heroic, but that one set the tone for him. So I think it's a good pick. For sure. All right. So my next one is the greatest character of all time. Han Solo ran away with his winnings and is so selfish, and him and Chewie are going to go pay off Jabba the Hutt, clean his slate, and he's just wrecked, and he had to go back and shoot down the wingmen of Darth Vader to distract Darth Vader so that Luke Skywalker can use the Force and blow up the Death Star. So Han Solo returning back when he didn't have to, in a very dangerous situation, put himself at risk of dying, put Chewie at risk of dying, and save the day. Yahoo, as he put it, Han Solo coming back to save Luke so that they can destroy the Death Star in the very first Star Wars movie.
I think that's one of like the best movie like moments in the movies ever is when Han comes back, because you realize he is the good guy, and then they obviously play into that in Solo, Star Wars story. But
sure.
Yeah, it's such a good moment, and it's one of those moments that you're like, oh man, they're gonna lose. Like, where is this movie going? And then he comes in, and you're like, oh, this is now my new favorite character. This is the best person ever.
And you have to wonder kind of when people, because we watched it and we watched it over and over and we're like, we're waiting for it to happen. It's coming. He's coming.
Sure.
The Yahoo's coming. But when people first watched that movie, were they like, oh, that guy left? And you know, the innocence of watching movies back then, you probably didn't expect it. They're probably like, oh my God, he came back. It was probably such a huge moment
Absolutely.
at that time.
It's funny you say that too, because there's a recording somewhere that I've heard that's like, oh, here's an audio file of a 1977 audience at the end of Star Wars.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's crazy because you hear all the like dun 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 music and stuff, and there's definitely a scene where everybody goes oh, 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 right, and then you hear and then you hear the explosion and everybody just erupts and they're all clapping and stuff. I was like, I don't even know if this is fake, like somebody made this years later, but to me that's exactly the feeling that I get when I hear about like the Star Wars craze. And that is like the pivotal moment, you know, like he comes back and everybody's like, what?
Yeah. It's Han Solo finally becoming the good guy, like Kira told him. Hashtag make Solo 2 happen. Lacey, what is your next pick on the Kessel Run? Again, guys, we are doing the 12 most heroic Star Wars moments. We are at number 5.
So my next heroic moment was a moment that in The Last Jedi, I think I would say majority of people were not expecting. And it was the moment in the movie where every time I saw it, which I saw like 8 or 9 times, every single time people cheered in the whole movie. This was the moment. And that moment is...
Wait, what movie? TFA?
The Last Jedi.
TFA.
Oh, Last Jedi.
Last Jedi. Okay.
Sorry.
And that moment is when Kylo Ren kills Snoke. For me, this moment, I remember... I kind of remember seeing it the first time, but I've seen it so many times that just the excitement of him making the right choice, the excitement in the movie theater when he did it was just so awesome. And it's so heroic to see him struggling in TFA and then struggling in The Last Jedi, and you're unsure if he's going to do the right thing because he's in the elevator with Rey telling her that he's bringing her to Snoke. He watches her basically get tortured, and he's watching all these things happen. And then... you know, the way Snoke is telling how it's going to go is that he's going to betray her, but then he does what he's supposed to do, which is does the right thing and kills his evil master. And I think going off of what James said before, it's a moment that I don't think he necessarily knows what's going to happen next. Like, how am I going to get out of this? But he knows that he has to take the moment and kill Snoke. And I love that when Rian Johnson was doing interviews and like he was doing a Q&A at a movie theater after The Last Jedi came out, and someone asked him about this moment specifically, and he said that in the elevator he had decided that he was going to kill Snoke. He just didn't know how. And I love that that's kind of very Han Solo of him to like not know what he's going to do, but then he goes in there thinking, okay, I'm going to figure this out as I go. And that's such a moment that, like John just said, that like Han Solo just decides at the last hour to step in. But yeah, no, it just shows you that there's still good in Ben Solo, and I really liked that. And it plays into the next movie of what's going to happen.
This one's tricky to me.
Okay.
Because I think if he ends up being redeemed, this is a heroic moment. But because I kind of don't want that, I look at this like a selfish moment. Like he was doing this to be the next leader. But from your perspective, absolutely. Because he is doing the right thing.
My question to you would be, if it's not a heroic moment, then why didn't he just kill Rey?
Because Snoke is still in charge. This is his opportunity to kill Snoke.
Yeah, but I think he killed Snoke because he didn't want to kill Rey.
That's why it's so good though, because you can look at this thing and see it from so many angles. And like you say, like we talked about this, and I think Lacey's brought up before. We aren't going to be able to appreciate these movies till we see 9.
Yeah, and
like
everything makes sense. Yeah.
If he winds up being redeemed, it's like, well, that sheds a different type of prism on that and that sort of thing.
Sure.
But
absolutely,
a huge moment. And someone who shared that thing where he figured out how he was going to do it when was that you, James, who sent that to us in our chat? He saw this lightsaber.
It wasn't me. I
here.
saw it on Reddit. It was on the movie details thing, and I didn't
realize that until I saw that.
Yeah, people have been talking about that since The Last Jedi came out, though.
Yeah. So for the people out there who don't know,
yes.
So when Kylo Ren's lightsaber got flung across the room when Snoke launched Rey, his lightsaber spins on the floor, and you see him kind of have the light bulb moment in his head, and people are saying, well, that's when he realized that he could spin the other lightsaber and put it through Snoke. And if that's what Rian Johnson did, then that's incredible. He'll probably take credit for it, whether he did it or not. But on purpose, but very cool.
So
very cool moment.
That moment in particular, people have been pointing it out on Tumblr since the movie came out. Like all the Raylos have been talking about that moment for a very long time.
Good job, Raylos!
I want to give people credit where credit is due, because this stuff happens all the time where these things come out and people are like, oh, I didn't realize that. And people have been talking about it for over a year. So
yeah, but you know what? Also, isn't it possible that like 500,000 people could think of the same thing, and then it's just like a pissing contest of like, I thought of it first. I
absolutely agree with you. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that this person that posted on Reddit is probably not the first person that came up with it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and he won't be the last. I didn't think of it. I know that. So.
Okay, that's fair. I'm not criticizing. Just saying.
Who's up next? What's going on here? Pick 6? Are we at
halfway point? James is up.
Halfway there.
My pick for the next one is the entire crew that got on SW0608 and decided to, against all odds, head over to Scarif and try to get those Death Star plans. Basically, Rogue One.
I knew that.
Because
the whole movie. Yeah. Not even...
No, not Rogue One the movie. Rogue One the ship.
No, I'm joking. I'm saying that you would say, actually, the whole movie.
Actually, the whole movie.
Heroic movie.
I definitely think this falls into my category of like courage over bravery, right? They knew going into that situation they probably weren't going to make it, but they had to do it. It was the right thing to do. And so despite the fact that they had the backing of none of the rebellion, none of the alliance, they still decided to go through with this, and they did it as best as they possibly could. Mm-hmm. And I'm not even talking about Jyn, and Cassian specifically. I'm also talking about all those people that stepped up. Right. And in that moment, they're completely going against like orders and like what they've been told to do. Right. They're commanding officers and all this other stuff, because they're just like, I believe that this is the right thing to do. And I don't know, like we as a society want to encourage stuff like that, right? So
Yeah,
I don't know. It's
sure.
just that to me is like one of a bigger pivotal moment of like somebody actually stepping into what looks to be their ultimate demise.
Yeah, probably my favorite speech in that movie is, we'll take the chance and the next chance until we're out of chances, by Jin. And that's her saying, like, we're doing this whether we succeed or we die. So, that's without a doubt. And it's, again, one of those domino effect moments that changes the course of the story because they get the plans and then A New Hope happens. And if that doesn't happen, Han can't go back and be the hero. So there you go. Good pick. So my next one, R2-D2, who I think personally is the greatest hero in the history of Star Wars. Len,
You said
I
that
know you're
about
with
the
me.
last one.
What's that?
You said that about the last one.
No, the greatest character is Han Solo.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Greatest hero.
All right.
R2-D2 fixing the shield generator on Padme's royal starship. You have send out all the droids, and they're all getting picked off one by one, and there's R2 still working away like, oh, geez, as he sees all these other droids getting launched into space, and they're about to be killed. And then what happens if that does happen? There's no Padme anymore, and that means there's no Luke and Leia, and that means the whole thing just doesn't exist by this moment. You have R2-D2 saving the ship so they can get to where they need to go, which winds up being on Tatooine due to the issues they have with the ship. But if he doesn't fix the shield generator and save them right there, the whole story, the wills, throw them in the garbage, because butterfly effect style, the whole thing changes. And I could list a bunch of R2 moments, but I got to go with this one because it's his first time saving the day.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like you said, John, I think R2 is one of, if not one of the top heroes of Star Wars. He saves their butts so many times in these movies where he's just like...
Because he never runs away. He just goes straight in.
He just does it. He doesn't even care. And that's...
And
That's
Lacey,
what a hero
even when
is.
he's serving drinks, he still had a plan in place, right?
I know, which I love how secretive he is that he doesn't tell C-3PO because he can't be trusted.
Yeah, C-3PO would spill the beans because he's such a neurotic freak.
Absolutely. All right. So my next moment is from The Force Awakens, and it's when Rey grabs the lightsaber from Kylo Ren and ends up fighting him on Starkiller.
Nice.
This is another one of those moments, guys, that in the movie theater, I know I screamed the first time it happened. I was like, oh my gosh. Because the whole time I was expecting Luke Skywalker to show up. I was waiting for it. And when it's her, I just lost it. I was like, I've been waiting my whole life for this moment. So when she grabs the lightsaber, there's a moment of like unsureness, being like, I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, I'm going to do this. Like there's a split second that she's like, and we're doing this. And for Rey to not understand her force powers yet and not truly know what she's up against, even though Kylo Ren was her, I mean, he destroyed Finn. So that is super heroic. And then she goes on to defeat him and leave him on the ground. And she's like, bye.
Yeah,
So
she beat him up.
yeah, she did. So that to me is one of the top heroic moments in Star Wars. Like Rey showed him what's up.
This is all of Rey fighting Kylo Ren at the end here, not just the saber.
It's her grabbing the saber and then making the decision to fight him and then killing.
Yeah.
Well, not killing him, like beating him badly.
When she first hit him, I thought she killed him. Like when I was in the theater, I'm like, she just cut his head off or something. Like I thought
They just Darth Mauled this thing.
Yeah, I thought he was
Kylo
Darth
Ren
Maul.
is dead. Yeah,
But you know what,
Crazy.
Lacey, you bring up the whole, I thought it was Luke Skywalker, and I think we all did, right? But
I think Mark Hamill did.
yeah, right. But
Yeah,
when he
he
was
said
reading
that
the
too,
script in the table read,
He's like, here's my moment.
but it's like one of those things. Like honestly, when it happened, I'm like, this still feels perfectly right.
It felt
Like,
better to me than
I
when
wasn't
it
like,
being
damn
Luke
it, it
Skywalker.
should have been Luke. I was like, yeah, all right, let's do this. Like this is it. This is the new time now. Like
I think that it absolutely 100% works. I also think that in an alternate universe where it was Luke and they did go down that route, it's like great too, you know. But to go back to your point of this being a heroic moment, it absolutely is. I mean, her deciding to grab that saber and fight off Kylo Ren, despite the fact that she just witnessed somebody else get the crap beat out of him.
And she just got flung into a tree too.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, and like knocked out.
I'd be out, man.
Yeah. So she is definitely stepping up and doing the right thing, just to fight all the way to the end, like Steve Rogers or something. Like, I could do this all day. And we all know that guy's a hero. All right, my next one, and I feel like I kind of did these a little bit out of order. I probably should have done this one as my number 2. I did tell John and Lacey that I was going to try to stick to the movies, but the more I thought about it, there was one scene that I really wanted to cover, and that is Ahsoka leaving the Jedi Order. Because as much as for the same reasons almost that I was talking about Finn leaving the First Order, I think there's like a famous Mitchell and Webb skit where they're like clearly like in German armor and stuff, and they're like, are we the bad guys? Like they're just now figuring it out. They're like, oh, we're like, we fight under the banner of a skull and stuff, and they're like, that kind of sounds like we're the bad guys. Like they don't want to be the bad guys. So you can kind of attest that to Finn. Like he's kind of looking around. He's like, I think this is I'm very clearly on the wrong side here, and he could leave. But what's interesting about Ahsoka is like, she's very clearly on the good side, you know? And she's seeing stuff that's happening in there that's like, hey, everybody in the entire galaxy practically praises the Jedi. They all know that they're good people. They all put their trust in them to keep what do they call it? Not rule, but like everything
code.
No, they keep I don't know what I'm looking for. But it's their job to make sure that like they're the peacekeepers. That's what I'm looking for. Make sure that everything stays the good. They're law enforcement, if you will. But like they're seen as a good entity to the viewer and also to the galactic people. And yet, for whatever reason, now that she's starting to see a little bit of the inside, she still like leaves that. Like she leaves her good job because she just feels like it's not right morally. And that's crazy. That's someone that like says like, hey, I'm in a very successful band, you know, I'm making millions of dollars as an actor, and I'm like, but it's just you know, there's something wrong in my life and it's not right, so I need to like come out and be open about this stuff or something, you know. And that stuff is good. So I see her leaving the Jedi Order as a heroic moment.
Sounds like you connect with that a little bit, James. Unless you just made a band analogy.
No, no, it actually in like reality, it would be like kind of the opposite.
Okay. All right. I thought we were having a Dr. Phil moment there, but we didn't have it.
No.
Damn it. All right. My next pick, that is a good pick though. I have to say, Ahsoka leaving the Jedi Order. I didn't think you were going to throw that wild card out there. I thought if you were going to go away from the movies, you'd go with the Kanan moment, saving everybody. His heroic end, which was, you know, some people think that's the greatest Star Wars moment ever for those who love animation that much. But you went with Ahsoka, so you definitely threw a wild card in there. But I think it's a good pick without a doubt, because that character's stock seems to always be rising. So as more stories get told, the legend grows. My final pick, now we are on number 10 of 12 in most heroic Star Wars moments, is Vader killing Palpatine. For a lot of reasons. Obviously, it's the climax of the original trilogy on the surface and that sort of thing. But you have Vader looking to his son, looking to the Emperor, and you could see his brain is obviously a tornado, and he's seeing how much of his time he put in with the Emperor, and there's no going back. But then he sees his son suffering, probably knows if he makes this move, because he needs that respirator, that this will kill him with the electricity, still makes the move with one arm, picks up Palpatine and throws him to his demise, throwing away pretty much most of his life that he devoted to this man down the drain just to save his son, who he was just fighting 10 minutes ago. So a huge moment, literally a moment in time for that character to make that choice. And I just think that's a powerful moment, regardless of the no that Lucas added before he wrote the check, had the checks written and sold Lucasfilm to Disney. But probably an easy pick, but to me, it's top moment in Star Wars, let alone heroic moment.
I completely agree. I think that moment when he finally makes the right decision, I don't think anybody can ever be like, oh, that moment sucks. Like, it's such a great moment.
Sucks.
I'm a Star Wars fan, but that
Return
moment
of the
didn't
Jedi
register
when
with
Star
me.
Wars jumped the shark.
Yeah.
You mean the bad guy's actually doing the right thing? What?
Yeah.
No, it's such a good moment. And for Luke to see his dad follow his own kind of advice from earlier, it's like, gets me right here.
Yeah.
Father-son stuff. All right, cool. My last pick is actually from the same movie. And this
Force
scene...
Awakens? Oh, Last Jedi, sorry.
No, The Return of the Jedi.
The Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, geez. All right. So my last pick is one of probably my favorite moments in Star Wars. And this is the moment that when someone mentions Luke Skywalker, this is what I think of. So my moment is when Luke turns on Jabba the Hutt and takes down the whole sail barge. And like he goes into that moment knowing he has a full plan with R2-D2 and he's like on the side ships and he's like, you have one last chance to surrender. And Jabba's like, rah. And then Luke just totally destroys everybody. And it is one of the best moments in Star Wars. And that whole sequence is just so epic. And the confidence Luke has, despite the terrible air kick that he does.
Force kick.
Yeah, the force kick. Despite that, just him showing up to Jabba's palace, first of all, is just so badass. And then for this scene when Han is like, are you sure we're going through with this? Like, what? You're a Jedi now? What's going on? Like, how long has it been?
Right.
And then Luke is like, I got this. No problem. Like, for me, it's so Luke Skywalker. And it's so heroic that he's putting everything on the line with the understanding that he's trusting in the Force, he's trusting in himself, and he's trusting in his ability to save his friends the right way when he couldn't really do it previously. And that's why Luke Skywalker is a hero.
You know, it's funny.
Thank you for
started
attending.
Describing the moment, I picture the music like kicking in.
Yeah.
And it's funny because
would it be Force kicking in?
Well, yeah. But what's funny is like I picture the lightsaber coming down and him grabbing it and then dun 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 dun,
yes.
dun dun dun, and I was like,
Indiana Jones.
I know. I was like, that wasn't the music that played there, but it
the funny
totally
thing
would fit.
Is that scene kind of is, now that I've seen them, guys. I've seen them. It kind of is an Indiana Jones type moment where he's just like, all right, I'm going for it.
Yeah, swashbuckling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the good guys
I mean, the real
win.
music is the main theme there. The dun,
Sure.
dun, 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 dun,
You know,
dun.
you can
It's a
almost
heroic
also
moment.
say that is the OG crew together heroic moment, because you got
Yes.
R2's involved, Leia's involved, like they're all working together. Leia
That's what
chokes
I
out
want.
Jabba. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I want in The Rise of Skywalker, is at least some scene like that where the crew's together and they're like working together to get out of some type of
Yeah.
shenanigans.
Like in before the Kessel Run, when Lando throws Han his blaster and Chewie's helping out there, and they're
Yeah.
like the teamwork stuff in Star Wars.
Kira's
always,
throwing bombs.
she's throwing. She's throwing grenades. Yeah, so it's like anytime teamwork always works well in Star Wars to me.
Right.
In the Star Wars universe, it almost feels like when they use that music, they use it. It's called like the hero chant or something. You know, like this is like their hero moment. Yeah. Anytime you ever see like Poe like swing his X-ring around or something, I don't even know if they play the music there, but you could easily see dun, 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 dun,
the main theme.
he's like coming back and doing the thing or whatever. So almost like one of our picks could be like, anytime they use that music, that's the hero moment.
The sped up main theme. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, for my final pick, again, going back to that thing, like what's the situation of courage where a person has to like, they know that they're probably not going to make it out of this. And I was like, man, is there any moment where like a particular character like just 100% knows that they're going to die and they still choose to go into it? And so in A New Hope, Obi-Wan is facing Vader and he sees Luke and there's this whole situation, and Obi-Wan makes the conscious effort that he is going to give up his life at that moment and allow Vader to kill him in order for him to, even though he knew he was going to die. But I thought about this and I was like, I still see so many circumstances where he knew he was going to transcend to the next world or whatever. So the only answer I could come up with is Kanan Jarrus. And this is my real fourth answer.
What a plot twist.
The funny thing is, when you were talking about it, John, I could see James's face kind of sinking because I knew that was his final answer. I knew it as soon as you said it, and you were like, "Well, I thought you were going to." I was like, "He is. Stop talking."
This is the usual suspects M. Night Shyamalan version of our Kessel Run.
The twist.
Remember when he said earlier that he was like, Lacey's going to be like, but Ben Solo is, well, Kanan Jarrus is. That's James.
Well, it's a good thing James went last here. Save the drama for his final pick here. So the floor is yours, Mr. Baney.
Go ahead.
No, it's just, okay, so that's exactly it. It's like, I was going to try to stick to the movies, and John kind of opened up the door because I told him I was going to stick to the movies, and he said, I thought you would pick this Kanan moment. And I was like,
nailed it.
The thing is like you guys weren't necessarily trying to restrict yourself to the movies. And I was like, if one of you don't pick that moment, that to me is like the absolute quintessential moment of all Star Wars where no character has ever actually actively, and I know, John, you talked about like he probably knew it was going to mess with his respirator and stuff. And I'm like, I still think all that stuff's iffy. I don't think Kanan's iffy. He's a young guy. He knows what he has to do. The Force is telling him this is how it's going to go down. You're going to go into that situation, and the only way you're going to be able to rescue your friends is you're going to die. You're going to die. And he's totally aware that that's how it's going to happen, and he still does it.
It's the Tony Stark.
Yeah.
With like Doctor Strange, knowing how things are going to happen and all that, yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that is like one of the bigger reasons that Rebels still like holds water, and like these like some of the best Star Wars stories ever told is because even in the movies, we've never really seen a character that doesn't. I mean, Kanan was good with the Force, but I still think I mentioned he was young. Like he still had a lot to live for, and he still was in this period too where he wasn't like Yoda. Like Yoda knew, he was confident that when he died, he was moving on to this, bigger Force world. And Obi-Wan was the same way. He had interactions with
and neither of
Force
them
ghosts before.
Had a child on the way.
Yeah, I mean, and like he had Hera, he had Sabine to take care of, he had Ezra specifically, who was like basically his son. I mean, there's so much to it. He had so much to live for, and he 100% knew that in order for this to go down the way that it had to go, he had to die, and walked right into it. Did it? No question.
That is a very good pick. The only thing I think that hinders it is that a lot of fans don't watch the shows. I think that's the only thing that holds it back from the other moments. But
that might change come November.
Well, because Rebels is coming to Disney Plus, they might catch up. They don't have to buy it.
In a vacuum, it's right on par with all the moments, and it was animated well. The music was fantastic. How they handled it was really good. And when you take that show from its first episode, where it's kind of hokey and whatever, to that's evolution for a series right there. That's but damn you, Baney! I already started jotting down Obi-Wan. I'm like, oh, he's going Obi-Wan. Now I gotta cross stuff out. Because
I knew as soon as you said it and I saw his face, I was like, John, stop talking. That's clearly his last pick.
Did I start to get you, Lacey, though? You were like, oh, I guess he's not going to go with.
No, you didn't. Because the look on your face when he said something, I was like, oh no, John, stop
Oh,
talking.
I meant when I started my pick with the Obi-Wan stuff and all that. But
No, before that. Oh,
I
right
know,
now?
I'm asking you, did I start to convince you when I went into the Obi-Wan stuff?
Yes.
Yeah.
For a second, I was like, wait, I thought that. And then I was like, yes.
So I
Well,
pulled
guys,
one over on both of you.
that is the Kessel Run. Those are our 12 picks. I'm going to run them down real quick here for you. Anakin Podracing to save everyone. Leia, someone has to save our skins, kind of taking the reins as the stormtroopers are raining down in the detention center. Finn leaving the First Order, making that hard choice. Han returning to save Luke in A New Hope to blow up the Death Star. Kylo killing Snoke. Rogue One, the crew heading to Scarif. R2-D2 fixing the shield generator on Padme's ship. TFA, Rey grabbing the lightsaber and making the choice to fight Kylo Ren. Ahsoka leaving the Jedi Order. Vader killing Palpatine. Luke taking down Jabba in Return of the Jedi. And Obi-Wan... Oh, sorry. Kanan sacrificing himself for Hera and the Rebels in Star Wars Rebels. So that is it. Let us know what you guys think of our picks. You like them, you love them, drop a comment. Also, we want to know what your picks are, because I'm sure there's plenty of other heroic moments for you to rain upon us. So, and we may revisit this again after the Rise of Skywalker, because we may have some more heroic moments to go. And of course, as more movies come out and we keep podcasting for years to come. Okay, guys. Now, I know we're getting late, but I really liked the answers this week in Resistance Transmissions.
I'm ready to go.
We're giving you a little extra TRB this week. It's a little over an hour, and we're steaming forward. As long as you're still with us, then we're gonna keep going. So let's send it to Lacey for this week's Resistance Transmissiones.
So there's a slight problem, which I don't know what the situation is.
Oh.
But
Oh wait.
Here
Did you find
are
it?
Resistance transmissions.
Okay.
Nope, I didn't. It's not coming to me. However, John, do you know what the situation is?
I do know what the situation is, and I can't believe I didn't add it to the show notes.
It's okay.
So, you guys getting a live look at TRB putting things together right now.
But it's proof that I don't read them beforehand.
How about
'cause I
that
don't know
Kessel Run, though, guys, huh? You guys have anything you want to say about that?
You guys can tell when things get awkward because you guys do the the transmissione.
The transmission.
Okay, so let me explain. Let me explain what it is.
noties.
So for people that are just listening now, have never listened before, first of all, welcome. Second of all, Resistance Transmissions are your chance to be on the show.
Right.
So what happens is every week, John puts up a crazy, wacky situation on Twitter. On Twitter, which is our account at RBATSWNN. And then from there, he puts on the situation. And then from the situation, he then copies and pastes it into this document. And that's what I read from. I've never read it before. I don't know what the situation is.
Right.
I don't know what's going on. And then from there, I read your answers. So
Right.
this week, we're going to mix it up a little bit. And John's going to read what the situation is.
Okay. So, yes, I dropped the ball here, and I didn't update the notes, so I'm going
It's
to read it
okay.
right
It's
now.
not a big deal. Just do it. Go.
Here's the deal. The Mandalorian is walking the streets of a crime-ridden town. A child walks up to him and says, "Hey, aren't you Boba Fett?" What does what does Mando say or do to prove he's not Boba Fett?
All right. Okay, first up is Rick Villanueva at Cad Bane's Bounty.
Cad Bane?
He's not going to be happy with your answers before, guys. And he says, he looks at the kid cross-eyed and says, Boba Fett where? And then jumps into a big hole in the street.
Boba Fett.
Where?
Next is Star Wars Diehards at Star Wars DH. And they said, he turns on He turns on first 20 minutes of Return of the Jedi, then says, "You see, kid, that doesn't happen to real Mandalorians."
Oh.
Because he's not a real Mandalorian.
Womp womp. Okay. Next is Carl Steer at Darth Hurricane, and he says, "You won't see me in a holiday special, kid."
Oh, holiday special.
I love how everyone's
That's
saying
good.
the Mandalorian's going to say kid a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Ava Bizio at Bizio.
Bizo.
Sorry.
Bizio.
Sorry. Said, quote, "Never heard of him."
Call back to Jango Fett.
Straightforward.
Yeah.
Then is Grant Zeppernick at Grant_Zepp, and he says, "That depends. Do I look like an overrated Star Wars character?"
Oh, hot fire callback to a Hall of Fame tweet by Scott J-Rowe. Wow.
Dang.
Okay.
Dang.
Mine was similar to that, too. I just said, I'm underrated.
Oh, okay.
It's fair.
Very good.
Next is Valerie at ValerieGoGo1, and she said, "He puts on a clown wig, or pulls out a clown wig and a red nose, puts it on the kid and walks away." Clowning around
in the streets of Mando.
Ben Thompson at Crystal of Truth says, "He should say, Boba Fett where?" And then turn around and accidentally bump Boba Fett, whose rocket pack sends him out of control into a wall.
Boba Fett, just wrong place, wrong
Similar
time.
answer.
Yeah.
That would be weird if he really was there. Though.
Yeah.
They did the same thing again.
Michael Boussard Jr. at Rebel Awakening said, "Mando hands the kid the latest book from Pablo Hidalgo, The Mandalorian, the Visual Dictionary."
That's how you get the info, without a doubt.
That'd be a good book, man.
Yeah.
Pablo's like. Next is Steven Irizarry at Steven_Matthew. And he said he does ... anything.
Oh my God. Boba Fett's taking haymakers. Oh.
And last but not least is Bitter Brantley at Bitter Brantley.
I didn't get your handle there, Bitter.
And they said, "No, I had dinner with my dad last weekend."
That is one of the greatest. I want to put that in the Hall of Fame. I got to be honest with you. That is one of the
Two Boba Fett Hall of Famers.
That is one of the most clever and burn resistance transmissions I've ever seen.
Oh my God.
You know what's funny too is like theoretically this could even be in universe.
Yes.
Like he could be aware of Boba Fett. He'd be aware of what Boba Fett is. The other one too is he there was one that was like, "I'm a real Mandalorian," or that's not what happens to real Mandalorians.
Yeah.
Like that too could be the same thing. Like technically that could be a like the audience gets it.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing, but still technically true within the universe. I like it.
That is good.
That
was good.
It hurts a little. It's such a bad burn.
Dad tropes in Star Wars, I'm telling you.
Oof, hits me right here. Guys, thank you so much for being part of Resistance Transmissions. If you want to be on the show, make sure to follow us at RBATSWNN. And every week, John puts up a crazy, wacky situation.
And add it to the show notes.
I wasn't going to say it, John.
I'll say it.
Someone feels guilty. Yeah. And then you guys give your best, creative, funny, interesting answers. And you get on the show. And I read your handle. We talk about it. It's fun. John, back to you.
Wallowing in my Sarlacc pit here. Guys, thank you so much for listening and watching. I'm sure a lot of you by now are subscribed. If you're not, make sure you do subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, iTunes, which is Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere. Google Play, like Jane said before. What you guys can do is go to resistancebroadcast.com. Simple as that. It takes you to our page on Star Wars Newsnet, where you get links to all the places you can subscribe to us. It also takes you to our TeePublic store, so you can buy some merch, like Make Solo 2 Happen shirts, or Supreme Leader, Kylo Ren style. It also lets you know where we can be found on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at Johnny Hoey. James, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram, actually, at Myra Trunks,
All right, Lacey.
as it says right here.
People can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Lacey Gillerin
Nice.
because I
And
got my handle.
Got the
Hey!
handle. And
I did not.
as I said before, guys, you can go to StarWarsNewsNet.com every day for your latest news, reviews, editorials, information, and more in all things Star Wars. And become a patron at patreon.com/Resistance Broadcast. We gave you a little extra episode here today. If you want even more Resistance Broadcast content, you want to head there. Patreon.com/Resistance Broadcast. We have 5 tiers starting at $2 a month, and we post new content and new features and new interactive stuff pretty much every day on that page because we want to make it worth it for all of our patrons out there. And we're getting closer and closer to our next goal, which would be a Force Awakens commentary. So that's very exciting for us.
My time has come.
And I just want to say a special thank you to our generals on our Patreon page. First, I just want to say, Andrew, great job on the Patreon Podrace earlier in the episode. Fantastic work. Also, thank you to Carmelo, Brian Shalito, Len Brown, Neil Lowry, Jeremy Myers, Neil Shaw, David Probus, and Val Trichkoff. Generals, we salute you. And most importantly, again, thank you to everybody who has been joining us. Like Lacey said before, on Twitter at RBATSWNN, and spread the word of TRB because we know each time we put out an episode, there's someone new listening, and someone new who's listening knows someone who likes Star Wars. So keep spreading the word and enjoy your weekends, guys, because we'll be back as always with you with another episode on Monday morning right here on the Resistance Broadcast. And we'll see you around, kids.